Welcome to Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast with your host.
Charlie Seymour.
And I'm Tim Sternberg. Hit it, Nick. Welcome back. We took a week off, Charlie. Wait, we took a week off. Can you believe that? We took a break. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, pretty good. We gotta make sure we fix in time for Mr. Hollywood over here.
Just refresh. Yeah, for those who don't know, I flew to New York to film a commercial. I'm in a commercial campaign. Won't say what it is yet, but it's pretty cool. I love New York. Going back next month. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Get ready to see him on billboards, L trains, subway cars, bus benches.
You know, it's in 2 weeks from
knows?
today. 2 weeks from yesterday. You know what 2 weeks from yesterday is?
2 weeks from yesterday.
Thursday. 2 weeks from Thursday.
Your birthday.
Trivial Pursuit.
Trivial Pursuit. Your 3 weeks is your birthday. 2 weeks is Trivial Pursuit.
And what's next week? Charlie's birthday. Charlie, happy pre-birthday, buddy. Happy 40th, buddy.
No, not quite yet. Don't do that.
I know. Wait, you're feeling something about? I see the look on your face.
No, you have it wrong by a year. That's why.
No,
you're over.
I purposely did that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so when I turn 53 in a couple of weeks, you can say happy 60th, Tim. It's
okay. Happy 3/4 of a century.
Charlie and I are November babies. I always got along with November people, so look at that. He's a Scorpio though, so I'm sorry.
And we have friend of the pod. We have a happy birthday to Nev today too.
Nev, yes, happy birthday, Nev. A lot of Scorpios, not so many Sagittarius. I'm a Sagittarius. Not so many Sagittarius.
Just barely missed the cutoff.
Barely. And my mom,
honorary.
Did I tell you, like, my mom was originally due on November 15th, so I would have been a Scorpio. Isn't that yeah. 22nd is the cutoff, I think.
Yeah, 22nd or 23rd, right around there. You're close enough.
Close enough.
Plus or minus a week, you can kind of go both.
So how you doing? You took a nice trip. You had a nice little vacation. Yeah. So yeah.
Did we I got to see a Wrexham game as far as pop culture goes, and we also saw a game played where Ted Lasso's team played and many Ted Lasso sites. So it was very pop culture.
Folks, I will tell you, Charlie was sending me pictures and I was freaking jealous. And not only that, Charlie and his buddies actually got on TV when they were recording the game, which is freaking awesome.
The real question will be, will we make it into that episode of Welcome to Wrexham? That's what we're excited for. But
I hope so. Did you have to sign a release or something?
No, but so the interesting thing is it was a very tense game. And at the very end of it, it already have happened, so it's not much of a spoiler. But there was a very late goal that brought Wrexham from 3 points to 1. They drew instead of won, and Parky, the coach, kicked a whole like carrier of water bottles, 4x4 on the side, and water shot everywhere, and we're right behind it as it happened.
Did you get wet?
No, because he kicked it towards the field, but it made a shower of water in between us, so it could make for a good TV shot. And if they showed it from that angle, we would be right behind him. So we'll see.
The drama.
It was very fun. Highly recommend.
Was Ryan? You didn't see Ryan Reynolds?
No, it was an away game for them, but it was in London, so we thought maybe, you never know, but we did not see them.
You went with your friends on a trip of a lifetime, and you'll never forget it. And I tell people all the time, do stuff like that. That is the stuff that the core memories are made, and yeah, that's freaking awesome.
I got a Wrexham verse. So sometimes when they play, they have a match specific little giveaway in the gift shop, and it was a scarf, Wrexham versus Charlton. So now I have a little scarf for any soccer game going
Of
at
that game
Wrexham
too.
us.
That
Exactly.
specific game. I love that. That's awesome.
So that's
That's
pretty cool.
awesome. So, we're going to do something a little different going forward with the podcast. Charlie, you ready to go around the bases?
Let's do it.
Like what I did with that.
I
So yeah,
did. I did.
we are around the bases. So we are actually going to take you guys around the bases in what's going on in pop culture and sports in the last couple of weeks since we haven't been here in a couple of weeks. And so we're around at first base and it's all about Survivor. We're going to talk about the last several episodes of Survivor if I can remember. Charlie, you probably have a much better memory than I do with that.
Well, I definitely have a very good memory of yesterday's episode because it was wild.
What is
It
with
was
these
something.
tribal councils, bro? Let me. Can I skip to real quick to the tribal council because I have a question,
Yes,
real
please.
quick, before we go through the episode. How is how the revote thing confused me to no end.
Yeah,
I know
you weren't alone on that.
what is that. I know Sam. I understand the reason why Sam did it because Sam lost his vote in the auction. I get that, but what?
Yeah. So people were going back and forth on it because the previous time it happened, there were three people. And in a three-person tie, theoretically, you could vote for two different options. So
Mhm.
if they nullified it there, why didn't they do the same? But
It's so bizarre.
it was bizarre. I think in the end that didn't really matter because all once it was down to the two of them, they voted 8-0 or 8-1, I should say.
Right. And that's what I was
It
thinking too when
didn't,
I was watching the episode. I'm like, okay, it doesn't really impact this show. So okay.
but it could later. So I wonder if they'll clarify that after the fact now that it's been brought up.
For the layperson, for me anyway, and this is only the second season of Survivor I've watched in quite a number of years. It just looked like they were all pulling the rules out of the air and just saying, here, we're going to do this. And I know difference. Like, I know shows like Survivor, Big Brother, they actually do have the rules written down very specific to that season because they don't want any question that they just are making it up as they go. So there is
Mm-hmm.
like a rule book per se
And
of
as we know, with the lawsuit back in the 60s or the 70s, they regulate the game show industry. So,
they do, and reality shows like Survivor and Big Brother are considered game shows. So with the
but yeah,
21
there's a cash
scandal,
prize to win.
yeah, there was a scandal for those who don't know in the 50s that Charlie mentioned 21 Mark Goodson, not Mark Goodson, sorry. Barry Enright produced the show and it was a very famous movie too with Ralph Fiennes. And it was about the game show 21 and Herb Stempel was given what was the person who was like the returning champion. He was really good. Charles Van Doren was a professor at the University of Columbia University, University of Columbia University, and they brought him in and they started feeding him the answers. And that you don't do that. That's cheating. And so it became Herb Stempel like decided he was going to tell. He was upset, and it went to Congress, and Congress passed a series of laws. And I believe Van Doren went to prison for a little bit. It was a whole thing. But yeah, that is why. Sorry, I went on a tangent, but
No,
yeah,
no, it's good for the background.
yeah. But if the episode, I will tell you, they're repeating. I mean, this season two is similar to last. It's very dramatic, very exciting. I found an interesting tweet that you shared with me about who was watching. Sam was watching Charlie's episode about grip strength, and he ended up like
And
it
it
was
was
right
too late. It
before.
was like the day before he left for Survivor.
I love that I mentioned that at the beginning of the season. As
Yep.
they were watching the season. Yeah. I would do that. You would do that too. I know. I mean, it's good
100%
stuff.
you would have to.
Yeah.
I remember, I mean, it's not in exactly the same context, but before we went for ours, I watched Claim to Fame because that was the one I hadn't seen. So
That was
I
great
see
strategy.
why.
Yeah, I what did I do? I did a lot of research. Like I would look up the show and see I was like and I went to Atlanta. I was like, "Oh, I know everything. Jamie Foxx is a host and blah blah blah." And then they sat us in that room that day right before we did our first rehearsal and they're like, "Oh, Jamie Foxx isn't going to be here. It's going to be Anthony Anderson as Mama Doris." And we're like I was like, because I was a big shot going around telling people, yeah, it's Jamie Foxx. Yeah. And all of a sudden it's like, no. And I just started to back up.
And I
Memories.
remember sitting in the back half where that little half couch was. Andy was on my left, and he's like, "Oh, you didn't hear?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "I don't want to say it out loud." And then like 20 seconds later, he handed me his business card, and he had written on there, "Not Jamie anymore," or something like that.
Andy always
Andy
amazes
found out
me.
early.
Andy's something.
He
Andy
is
is a magician.
he is a magician. That's exactly what
Yes.
I was gonna say.
Shout out Andy. High five, brother. Speaking of Andy, and real quick, another side note. I want a trip to see the Dolphins and the Jets in January. That's pretty cool.
Wait,
So,
you won a trip?
yeah.
Wow,
Surprise.
shocking.
Shocker. Shocker. Anyway, so Survivor. What do we think, like, based on the votes and how things are going, are people now on to Sam? Like, do you think they're gonna get him out or what's happening?
Um, I think they wanted to break the two of them up for sure. They thought Sierra was the bigger threat of the two, so they took her out.
Obviously, yeah.
Now that they're separated, I think they'll have bigger fish to fry. I don't necessarily think he'll be the next target. Now that he's kind of out on his own, he could kind of. They mentioned it. They kind of showed it when they were talking at the beach. One of them had said, it's good to keep a shield or two around. And I think that's how they feel with Sam now. He's a shield without the protection. So, I mean, I'm not going to say he's safe next week, but I don't think he's guaranteed the next one to go.
From the outside looking in, I think that's a very dangerous move. I think Sam is a really, really good player, and I wouldn't keep him around at this
I wouldn't
point.
keep him around too long either, but they also don't want to keep Kyle around. He wins everything and he wins again. He won again. I
Kyle,
think
Sam, and who's the
next on
other
the list.
dude?
I think they wanted him first, but because he was safe again, they decided to break up Sierra and Sam.
Who's the dude with the cool hair? I forget his name. Gabe?
Gabe,
Gabe too. My God, I
there's
would Gabe, Kyle, and Sam.
and then let's not forget a couple of the women are playing fantastic games and could be some of the
The
favorites. Like, I
the
don't want
oldest
to jump
woman.
around too far, but I have so much to say about how Rachel's playing. I think she's playing one of the best games of Survivor I've seen in
Yeah,
a long time.
I agree with you. Absolutely. Uh,
Let's talk about her for a second.
go for it.
Starting with the auction. Okay.
I
First of
love the
all,
auction, by the way. I
they
love
bring the
the auction.
auction. The auction, it seems to be more of a
Every
recurrent
other
thing now.
season.
For a while, it was like, it's every few years, who knows? Now it's happening a little more frequently again because I think they realized it was so much better. And they even kept the wrinkle last year where they went looking for their money for the auction and found
Can
it.
I say, I wanted to say real quick to that. This is the first time I've seen the auction in the new era.
Yeah,
And I
okay.
remember
See,
the
so
old
I
day where
wasn't.
they would just give them a wallet and say, this is
Yes.
your money for the
Okay,
auction.
perfect. I'm glad that I was gonna say I couldn't remember if they had the auction twice in the last three with last year off or the year before off. So you answered my question because you watched last season, so they didn't have it. They
They
had the year
didn't have it in
before.
46. Yeah. Because I was like, oh, there's the auction. Well, wow, what happened to it? And I think I read somewhere too that the idea is they're going to bring it to every other year, every other season, every other
Yeah,
not it's not year, but every once
yeah.
a year to every 2 seasons. Anyway, so 49 and 48 will not have the auction apparently, but
And then
49
maybe they'll
will.
make an exception and bring it back for 50 as
They
well.
have to bring it back for
They have to
50
have
because
it for
that's
50.
iconic.
Right.
That they have to have everything iconic for 50.
So maybe
He
50 will be an exception to the every other year.
did you read that Jeff absolutely. Did you read that Jeff Probst already said that he already asked somebody from this season back?
Oh, that's good news. There's a lot of good people that it could be.
There's yeah. Um And that's a wealth of riches. I think when you're talking about a cast where you can literally like, oh, if she goes, I'll root for him, or if he goes, I'll root for her, and it's so many people that you can kind of gravitate to. That's you want that rooting part. I hate the seasons when the person you love goes home and you're like, yeah, I don't care anymore. Kind of like
Yeah,
the end of
like
Big
you need
Brother.
multiple people that you're rooting for.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, I think she's playing a strong game. I've said this for a while. I think Sam is playing a strong game. Although at this point, I don't think he's going to make it to the final three. I think something's going to I sense something's going to kind of be the end of it for him.
Yeah,
Kyle too. I don't see him making the final three either.
he
And
keeps winning.
if he does, I don't know how he doesn't win the game.
Yeah, you can't let him get to the final three. He's
If I
he's
was
he's dominating right now.
if I was sitting there, no way. Yeah. So
But
yeah, that's a great season.
so the auction. Let's talk about the
Yeah.
auction. You finally got to see it, and this was now the second time where they went looking for their money.
Which I love
So
that idea.
so you, as a first-time viewer of that, were watching them put them into their little buckets, so to speak.
Hmm.
And did you know at the moment when they were opening them up that they were going to be cash and different amounts in each one?
Well, I did. I made the connection definitely that they were going to be cash. I didn't know it was going to be different amounts, but makes sense that that's the case.
Yeah, so that's like another fun wrinkle. It's like the looking for idols, kind of.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I would just want to also talk about the editing for Andy in that.
Oh my
Oh
god,
my goodness.
he looks
So
so
for those
pathetic,
who may
dude.
not have gotten to watch yet, it's not really that big of a spoiler, but Andy could not find them for the life of him.
But the
But
camera did.
not only that, but they would show him literally walking by them in plain sight. Like he was literally talking about how he can't find them. And then he walked by and almost physically made contact with it with his arm as it swung. But
Dude.
then, hold on, you go ahead first.
No, go. I
The
just
most
can't. I can't.
savage of that then goes, is this how we're going to say the same thing?
Go
The
for it.
most savage of it is right at the end when they're showing this brutal montage of him missing everything. He then is explaining to Genevieve, I cannot find any of them.
That's the
As
one.
he's saying it, it's filming. There's one over his shoulder. And she goes, oh, yeah, that really sucks. And then just sidesteps him to grab it. I absolutely
I was
lost
dead,
it.
dude. I could
Dude,
not
I
stop
lost
laughing.
it. I lost it. I had to rewind it so Rosie could watch the editing of it. It was so funny. Oh my God.
Oh my
They,
god.
they need to
I
win. They need to win an Emmy for that editing of that auction.
Andy looks so pathetic this season. Like it's so
And
pathetic.
then it cut to him saying, and you know they're going to show me not being able to find any. And oh, he had no idea how bad it was going to be.
I
Poor Andy.
literally so here future players of Survivor, if you're listening to this podcast, here's a tip. If you're looking for stuff in the jungle like that, watch what the cameras are pointed. Right?
Right. Absolutely. Especially that many times.
Dude, they would literally, like you said, they would show him looking and he would go off and they would veer the camera. There it is. And he would go off and then it would veer the camera. There it is. Oh my God, that was so funny.
Yes, that
I'm
was,
glad you brought that up.
and then Genevieve reaching over him to grab it as he's complaining about not being able
Oh,
to find
I'm
him
sorry.
was just pure cinema,
But he didn't lose his vote because he didn't have money to lose his vote.
which is
Um,
a nice
I
wrinkle.
that's another wrinkle. In the old days, I don't remember you
They had
losing
that
your
in the
vote.
last one as well.
I like it. Because it
The
makes
the
you
other
want to
complaint I
spend
saw
it.
people having, which in some years he did honor it, but when Sam made the offer, if there was, excuse me, if there was meat on Kyle's win, if he could buy it instead, and he said no, no trades, no nothing. So people
Yeah.
were upset because had he allowed that, which was a fair offer by Sam's part, then he would have not have been the one to lose his vote. But who knows how the
He's
votes would have gone that one
but
then.
he still ate the wings.
He did.
You know what? I don't blame them. If you're there for 20 something days and you're starving, you're gonna eat the wings.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, it's such a good
Now let's
episode.
bring it back full circle to how we started with the auction, and then I wanted to talk about Rachel. So this is where we start. In her auction item, there's they've done this in the last one too. It might be worth watching the season before for you because they did the auction as well. But a tiny little scroll was in her,
Yeah.
what was it, not mac and cheese, because Teeny had the mac and cheese. It was
French
in her,
fries.
her
French
French
fries.
fries or something, yeah, or
Yeah.
chips, something.
Yeah.
And she so sneakily grabs it, puts it in her pocket. No one notices. She's right when she says, I don't think anyone saw. She did the perfect time to do it when it was
To be
another.
specific, she put it in a bra.
Yes, exactly. I couldn't remember if she did that one. No, I think this one was she put in her inner waist. And then
Oh,
when she
okay.
gets the idol, she puts it in her bra, which is what I wanted to get to next. So she wins it. Then she finally gets a moment to go away and read it. And it basically says, there is an idol sewn into your tarp. The tarp is in absolute broad daylight in the middle of everyone. And she, with a machete, hacks it out and nobody knows. Okay, that is a massive play. Massive.
How
She's
does
going to be
nobody?
able to talk about that. Let's say she gets to the final three. That's a huge speech right there. Oh, when did I get this? Every single one of you were 5 feet away from me, and I chopped it open with a machete. I mean, that's huge.
Huge. I get what do you think that is? You think people are just tired and they just didn't care or notice
Everybody
or
was eating. They were laughing, having a good time.
yeah,
She was there, but not there. Like they could see her. So it's not like she was missing, and people were like, "Hey, well, she's been gone for a while." So she was just kind of there, and maybe they thought she was just daydreaming or whatever. But it was a great play.
great play and well earned and there's always dangers with that, right? So people know you have an idol. They're going to flush that out and they're going to flush you out in the process. So yeah, it's always a danger.
So now she's made two great moves for them, and I still don't even think it was the best move for her for the episode. I don't know how closely everybody else picked up on this, but then I thought maybe one of the most brilliant moves I think I've seen in a number of years. She was pretty confident she knew where the votes were going.
Hmm.
She felt she was safe, so she took a double opportunity here. She By playing her shot in the dark, she told all of them she still didn't have a read on things, which was a bluff. She did. Then by playing it, they all think, okay, she doesn't have an idol. I don't know if you watched, but when she played her shot in the dark and didn't win, all she was doing was watching everybody's reaction to that. She had the idol in her pocket, and if people reacted overly like, yes, we got her,
She
okay,
was
she
going to
can
use the
pull it
idol.
out and she's safe. She saw people were like, oh, okay, that was, well, why would she do that? She played them like fools because now they don't think she has an idol on top of it.
And now she
I
doesn't have the
think,
shot in the dark.
yes, I think I think that is going to come into play very soon. I'm not going to 100% say next episode because she could win immunity, but the next time she is at risk, let's see how that plays out. That was something I noticed and thought we should bring up.
To your point, I really do think they're editing her to be final three. I really do.
She's playing a
Beyond
fantastic game, and
she
it's
really
hard not to
is.
root for her right now. I really like when people play smart,
Me
good
too.
games, and it's hard not to root for them. So right now, she's one of my front runners.
Oh, we'll see what happens. I like that. I like that pick. Yeah, I mean, that's what this Survivor, right, is like a giant chess game, and it's all about strategy. It's all about how you get from point A to point B, and for her and her game, first of all, to notice the scroll there in the French fries or whatever it was, and then to put it aside very carefully. And she actually waited, for people to kind of laugh and they were talking or something. And she's like, "Oh yeah," and she put it away. And then, as you said, to get to hack the tarp and to get the idol. I mean, that's masterful. That's like all stars level stuff. Like if Jeff was gonna invite somebody back stuff,
That's exactly what I was thinking when you said Jeff was going to invite
yeah,
somebody back. I was like, well, she made about 3 or 4 moves in one episode that is invite back worthy.
absolutely. So we'll see what happens with
There was
that.
a split second where I thought Saul maybe noticed the thing in the chips when they edited it and he looked down, but I think I think Saul's playing a good game too. By he let her know, hey, I'm the one that saved you. I'm the one that gave you that.
I think
That's
so.
what happened in, that's what happened in the previous episode. That was the
I'm
one
not.
where she was given the power from Saul, got up and left, and then they had to cannibalize on each other.
I question Saul's social game a little bit though. I question how he kind of interacts with people. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
a little.
Kyle seemed to say nice things about him in the episode, saying that he's his favorite person, and I think Saul rubbed a few people the wrong way with the whole Rome stuff, but then I think
Rome was
now
crazy.
I was gonna say I think now people think that was mostly Rome. So
It's interesting how they're editing Saul, and I think it had a lot to do with the Rome stuff. But if they don't get Kyle out soon, they're crazy. I don't know why.
they
They
haven't had
haven't
a
been
chance.
able
He keeps
to.
winning.
Right, right. Was this his third, right? Immunity
Yeah.
in a row? Yeah. I thought Sam was going to pull it out. Wasn't that Sam and him in the end or something like
I
that?
think
I
Sam
thought
got third because of the grip
third.
strength
Oh yeah.
comment.
But yeah,
Second was actually
wow.
Andy. Andy
Oh,
got second.
Andy, that's right, Andy.
And
I
he was able to recover a couple times.
That was impressive.
It was.
Wow, Andy has some game. I like that. But
And that wrinkle they've done a couple times in the last few seasons where they split it out into the men and the women, and then one gets safe of each, which is
and
another.
I've seen that one before. That's an
Yeah.
old one. That's an
Yep.
old challenge. So yeah, is that anything else you want to bring up with Survivor?
No, I think that's pretty good. I think we can move on to second base.
Let's swing that double. Let's go to House of Villains. Wow. Ooh, there's so much
Now,
drama in this show.
we are talking through the last episode. You did not
Yeah, and
watch the
I did
second,
not
correct?
watch this episode. Yeah, I
Me
know.
neither. Okay.
Um, um, Victoria. Victoria. What a bundle of Victoria.
See, now you get to experience it. I've seen her from a few of the Bachelor stuff, so I told you she would be entertaining at least. I don't know, that might
I
not be the right word.
I didn't know she had a history with that with the housewife.
Larsa.
Apparently, she was on Lars's show. She had some birthday episode or something.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, they have history. And so you have Victoria. Ooh.
Larsa took a flamethrower to that.
Oh, she did 100%. Um, I find it interesting. I don't think honestly. I think Wes is playing too hard. I think he's trying to be like the Godfather, so to speak, if that makes sense, of the
Maybe he was just
cast.
maybe this is a long game play, so people think he's less of a threat on Traitors.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Could
That's
that be?
yeah.
That could be something. Wes is diabolical. Isn't
Well,
the prize
Lars,
on Traitors way bigger?
it
Or
is, and
maybe not. They play for some of the prize pots, so actually it's probably pretty similar.
Lars is not. We saw her in Traitors. She was not that
Yeah,
diabolic.
someone
I
made a
can't even
joke
say the
about
word.
that. Was that Wes? Maybe it was Wes.
I mean, she was with Jordan, so I mean, that was her whole connection on Traitors. But yeah, I don't think they're together anymore, right?
I don't know. They've gone on and off. It's who knows.
Richard Hatch is already gone. I don't think we've talked about that since we
Yeah.
went on hiatus. That was he didn't play good. I don't know what he was doing. I
No,
think it's
yeah,
been too long since Survivor. Um,
he ruffled too many feathers.
yeah, Jesse's playing an interesting game from Big Brother. Um, I don't think he's gonna be on it long. It's hard. This a show like I will say this, a show like uh House of Villains is very or The Goat, very similar shows. House of
Yeah,
Villains and The
very.
Goat. They're basically the same show, but different
Joel
concept.
McHale, Daniel Tosh.
Yeah, it's the same type of show. But it's very hard to forecast a show like this, because I feel like even though it's not scripted, it feels scripted. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they
Like
kind of
there's
you can kind of tell with how they're pushing it.
yeah, I can't explain it, but it feels like there's a force that drives a show that's not natural. And I'm not blaming anybody for it being unscripted or not scripted. It just feels as if it's not well, we know it's not your typical Survivor Big Brother challenge. It's not your typical reality show where even if you look at the players that we would normally follow, like a Wes Bergman, it seems different. It's almost like the confessionals are different. It's hyped differently. The challenges are
Yeah.
different. And I love it. Don't get me wrong. It's refreshing. I love Joel McHale.
And to your point, when you have it in this style for these two types specifically, all it takes is like let's say Larsa randomly wins this competition that was past this box to blank, and it just so that was like a lot of luck involved, and she just doesn't like you, then bam, you're one of the people up. So it's a little different.
and that's basically a lot of them are very emotional in their, I
They're
mean, and
villains.
they're villain, exactly. And there's a reason why they're where they are. And same thing with the goats too. The goats are very emotional too. Um, so anything else you want to talk about with House of Villains?
No, that was I think that we were right to spend more time on Survivor because
I think so
Survivor has been
too.
excellent.
But going to third base, I want to talk about something very interesting, and we've mentioned this probably 3 or 4 months ago. But so let's take the triple third base, right? Let's talk about so this is miscellaneous stuff. Let's talk about Traitors 3, the cast. They announced within the last 2 weeks since we went on hiatus. Alan was on the Today Show and announced that Traitors season 3 was coming
January
January
9th ish.
9th. Yes. And they announced the cast officially. Now it's official. We've kind of had rumblings. So I'm going to go through it real quick officially and we'll talk about it. So first on the list, we got Bob Harper, Biggest Loser trainer. Interesting to me with Bob is that, I was a big fan of The Biggest Loser, and he was not a very dramatic guy. He was kind of, even as a trainer, Jillian Michaels, who was the other trainer on the show, was a little more rough with the contestants and stuff. So it's interesting. I don't think he's going to be that much of a character on the show, to be honest with
Admittedly,
you.
that's the one I know least about.
Right, and I understand. He's so just give you a little backstory. He's a trainer who a couple of years ago had a heart attack, which is wild. But yeah. All right, so we'll go through the list. Bob the drag queen. I don't know anything about Bob the drag queen. I don't watch. I think it's RuPaul. I don't watch
RuPaul, yeah.
RuPaul. Have you seen Bob the drag
Well, I
queen?
know that House of Villains has a current RuPaul, so it's another one from that series.
Nice. Okay. Brittany Haynes. We know Brittany. Big Brother.
Big Brother,
I love
Reindeer
Brittany.
Games.
Reindeer Games. I go back to Brittany's original season. You probably weren't watching yet, but I've always loved Brittany because Brittany has this salty kind of I don't give a shit attitude where I'm gonna tell you how I feel and that's it. And I think she's gonna be really interesting to watch. I wouldn't be surprised if they made her one of the traitors.
I mixed her up with the other Brittany, the more recent Brittany.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Carolyn Weiger.
Survivor.
How is she? Because I don't know her as.
He is a.
Oh, look, my
I'd put
my,
her. I'd
my
put her.
cat's making an appearance.
I'd put her in the Angela category.
Stevie, see, my cat's making an appearance. Look at this. Hold on, we're
Stevie's
gonna
just
yeah.
excited
That's
that
just we're talking traders, right, Stevie?
Stevie's just excited that
Say hi to Charlie. Say hi to
I just put Carolyn into the Angela category. You asked about her. That's what I think of her.
Sorry, right, yeah, I'm not even gonna edit this out because that's kind of funny. But so really, like that, really. So
Yeah,
wasn't she? If I remember, she's like Survivor 45 or something like that.
I
Wasn't she with?
think I think she might even be the same season as Tony, who you're also going to list as one of the
I
people.
know Tony. Now,
So this is going to be,
wasn't she with the dude too, like that made the puzzles afterwards and got the controversy with the
yes,
puzzles
I
that
believe that is
season,
all the
right?
same season. I
Yeah.
believe.
Ooh, interesting.
Now,
Interesting.
that's another one I think for you, especially before Traitors, since there's a few, I think Tony, Carolyn, there might even be a third one for that same season, which we'll circle back to this once you're done with all the cast because I'll bring something else up. But there's at least two, maybe three from the same season, so it might be worth watching that season of Survivor if you've got some extra downtime before January 9th.
I should. I should. Chanel Ayan. Let me see where she's from. I
She's from
don't
the
know who.
challenge, right?
The Real Housewives of Dubai.
Oh no, a different one. Okay.
Um, okay. I don't know. We'll skip her because I don't really know her. Krishnell Strauss from Selling Sunset. I've never watched Selling Sunset. My mom did. Um, Sierra Miller from Summer House. Now I know Franklin watches that show. He's talked about Sierra Miller, our buddy. Danielle Reyes, original OG Big Brother. Love her. Love her. She got robbed her first season. I think it was season 3 or 4 of Big Brother way back. OG. She's awesome. And she was in Reindeer Games and she also got
Yep,
robbed there, if you
I
remember.
remember.
Her and Brittany actually had
Her
a
and
thing.
Brittany bringing back two reindeer
It's
games.
interesting how that's going to
And they
be.
had Cody previous reindeer games.
Yep. Dolores Cantina, the Patterson Real Housewives of New Jersey. I don't watch any of the Real Housewives. Dorinda Medley, I think she's a housewife. Yeah, Housewives of New York.
A lot of housewives
Now
again.
here's one that I just and we've talked about this, but Dylan Efron, Zach Efron's brother. Okay,
Random. They always have one or
random.
two randoms.
Gabby Windy from Dancing with the
Another
Stars
Bachelor
and
franchise.
Bachelorette. Yeah, you know this. Um, and speaking of Bachelor franchise, we have one of our own from We Are Family who's coming up on the next season of The Bachelor. That's
Yeah.
going to be interesting.
Yep.
Um, and we have a We Are Family. We talked about this already
Deal or
coming
No
up
Deal
on Deal.
Island.
Wow. All right.
And a
Okay.
couple Trivial Pursuits.
Yeah. One already aired, Josh. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Jeremy Collins, Survivor. What do you know about Jeremy?
He's one of my favorites. I'm so excited for him on here. He's had at least one crossover season with Tony. He's the one who I couldn't remember. So there might be three people from the same season. They might all be together.
Is that heroes versus villains?
Jeremy's been on multiple. So
Oh wow.
they both were on Heroes versus Villains, I believe. But
Oh, it
I don't
says this.
know.
It's winners at war, you're thinking.
Winners at War. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Wow. Lord Ivar Mountbatten,
That's another AK, like the
British.
British Parliament person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nikki Garcia,
Is she WWE?
wrestler Total Bellas. Yes, I know her. I'm not a big wrestling fan, but I know some people in our audience are. This guy I don't know too well, and maybe you can help me out. Rob Mariner, Boston Rob.
Boston Rob. Heard of him before. Another
Is there going to be
survivor.
a season where we don't talk about Rob? We just finished with Deal or No Deal Island, and now we're going to be talking about him on Traders.
Hard not to
Oh,
root for him. He's
I
good
love
TV.
him. I love him. Robin Dixon, Real Housewives of Potomac.
No, so that's at least
That's a
four
lot of Real
housewives.
Housewives.
Yeah. It's going to be
Um,
another Bravo alliance.
Sam Asghari, who is Britney Spears' ex-husband. Now, this one I know, and I don't even watch the show because he's so controversial. Tom Sandoval from Vanderpump Rules.
Well, he was on season one of House of Villains, right?
Yes, he was.
He was
He
the first
is
elimination.
wild.
Yeah, he
They
was
showed
fun.
him on this season of House of Villains, and when they got the reward, and they went to his restaurant.
That's right. He had
Yeah.
the meet and greet with Wes and a couple others.
Yes. Um, and finally, I know this guy. I'm not a fan. He irritates me, but Tony from Survivor, Tony Velachos. Yeah. So what did you want to say?
Yes.
Now that
So
we've
you mentioned Alan was on the View or the Today Show, and he made the announcement.
Today show, yeah.
In part of that interview, he specifically meant he didn't want to give away too much, but the one thing he did say was it was a very heated season. He said in one of the round tables, people had to be separated from a physical fight. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this up was you have the a few different Survivor people that were on the same season before and may have had some bad blood. So part of me is thinking, is some of the bad blood spilling back over? Could it have been a verbal altercation again between Carolyn and
Ooh.
Tony? Maybe I don't. Just pure
Ooh.
speculation. But I'm wondering if
Ooh.
that, or maybe even one of the Real Housewives with 4 or 5 of them. Maybe there's some drama there. That's what I wanted to bring up. Who do you think is going to be in a an almost fist fight? We love the first couple seasons of the Traitors, but this has got to get you ready for season 3.
I think Tom Sandoval has to be involved in that
I
somehow.
would see that. I like that definitely. He
He
definitely fits.
he's so messy. He is so messy. I think Tom and probably yeah, I would say probably Tony maybe. Um
You've seen Tony in at least one season.
yes, I have. He doesn't play. He
He's
won. Like he's a winner. He won 2 seasons of Survivor, didn't he? He won Winners at War. Didn't he win Winners
yeah.
at War too?
For me, he's always going to be the guy that built the spy shack. He
Yes.
literally
I check.
built a spy shack, hid up in trees to get information, and it worked.
Although I wouldn't put it past Brittany Hayes and Danielle from going at it because they have some bad blood from
Yeah, there's
reindeer
a lot
games.
of options.
Oh, there's a lot of bad blood. I love the Traitors. We love the Traitors. I cannot wait to talk about the Traitors. Um, oof, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good, and
Can't wait.
that's gonna be one of our first episodes of season 2 because it's gonna be a year since this podcast has started.
Yeah,
Wow, here we go.
we're keeping up with the traders.
Absolutely, we love that show. Are you ready to take this home?
Let's do it. Let's hit it out of the park.
Baseball, literally, figuratively. It is the beginning of the winter process, the winter
The hot stove season.
meeting hot stove. Steve, I'm sorry, I always kind of I take over
No,
with Mets talk real quick,
this is
but
the talk right now.
Steve Cohen is literally this weekend or now flying out to meet with Juan Soto with the president with yeah, let it fly. So there was a report, and we talked a little about this, and we can kind of talk about it now live in discussion. So there's talk about Willie Adames from the Brewers coming over. Willie is a shortstop, and Willie said, and you told me that Willie said that he'd be willing to switch positions for the right amount of money.
For
He's
the
an
right team, the
infielder
right situation.
for the right situation, which honestly, the Mets have put themselves out there. They're attractive to any player because of how competitive they are. But here's the trick with that. A lot of the players that were in that mix are free agents and we're in a kind of a transition. I still think I'm confident that Steve Cohen and um uh you know who I'm talking about.
Stearns.
Stearns, thank you. David Stearns is going to bring that quality back to the brand. They're going to match whatever they
I mean,
lose
look
with.
what Stearns did in what was supposed to be a rebuild.
He's unbelievable. I give him off carte blanche. I trust him. I have faith in him. And so they're meeting Juan Soto. So one of the situations potentially is it's going to pay me to even talk about this, but here we go. So they sign Juan Soto. They sign Willie Adames. They make Willie Adames um like play third base. They put Mark Vientos, who is flexible and can go to first base, and they say bye to Pete Alonso. That's one situation. That's where two Tim's going to hold a funeral on this podcast. I'm gonna be sad. That's one
Well,
situation.
but it'll be a lot, but you got to remember the good times if that happens. And again, as you said, that's just one situation because
Mm.
there could be another one where they get Pete and Juan. There
And
could be
I'm
one where they get Pete and Adamas. So
and I'm gonna have a sale on baseball card. I'm kidding. I'm kidding,
it's
Charlie. I'm
it's nice
kidding,
to be
Charlie.
flexible when you have that kind of ownership and
Yeah.
leadership.
I mean, and there's a very strong possibility that Pete does resign. I mean, Stearns is very favorable to him in every conversation I've had. Yeah, Stearns and I have talked. No, but every conversation I've heard regarding Pete from management of the Mets, they want him to come back. They would like they are very agreeable to it if the situation is right. So
Right, and you
that's,
just have to keep your options open.
right.
It's what smart ownership and it's well run. They're doing it right. You can't just say, okay, we're only going to talk to Juan and Pete because if you only get one of them, you need some fallback options, and they're going to have
Uh,
plenty. They're an exciting team. People want to join them. They just saw how far they went. Just imagine what they'll be able to do
my
another
thing
year.
is I want them to make us competitive with the Dodgers and the Padres because those are really the teams. I think the Braves are still going to
You just took them to
rebuild,
six in the NLCS.
right? But I want us to be competitive enough that we it doesn't even have to, and we can take them, you know what I mean? Like I feel like, yeah, we definitely played the Dodgers better than the Yankees played the Dodgers, without a doubt. There's no doubt. And as a matter of fact, I think that's why Juan Soto would consider leaving, because Judge had a horrible World Series. He wasn't present at all, did not play well. Yeah, I think the Mets have really made themselves attractive, especially in the
And just
postseason.
imagine if Soto thinks, okay, I was with the Yankees and we got crushed. The Mets took them to the brink. Imagine if they added me. I mean,
Yeah, and I think he
arguably one of
knows.
the best hitters in the game.
I think he knows. And honestly, it's no surprise that Soto has already mentioned in previous years that he likes the Mets. He said that before in interviews. I've heard him say that. And I think his
He
brother is in
wouldn't
the
even have to
minors.
move.
His brother's in the minors for the Mets too. I think Levon, or yeah, he has a
And
brother.
you literally wouldn't have to move.
No, just
Change
go
teams without moving.
no, just get a car service to the Queens instead of the Bronx.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, not a big deal. So let's talk Cubbies. Cubbies have had some transactions happening. What's going on? Who went to the
They
Brewers?
who went to the Brewers?
Yeah.
Who
Didn't
went to the Brewers?
Kyle
No, he
Hendrick?
went to the Angels.
Oh, the Angel. Oh, this is
Yeah,
why I
those
thought Brewers, because Nicholas was involved in the conversation. And
Yeah,
yes,
no,
that's right. He went
Angels.
to the Angels.
I would not be happy if he went to the Brewers.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It
Yeah.
was the last. So it's interesting. He was at the time the last remaining piece of the 2016 Cubs.
Yeah.
However, a left-handed reliever that was with the Cubs, they actually claimed off waivers from the Brewers, who was on the 2016 Cubs, but didn't make the World Series roster. Rob Zastrisny.
Oh, yeah.
So now Hendricks left, but Rob's back, so we're back to still having at least one piece from the World Series team. So we got that going for us.
Yeah. Oh man, that team was so special. Rizzo.
Free
Yeah.
agent
Oh,
now,
Chris Bryant. Yeah. Did the Cubs re-sign Rizzo?
not a chance.
Chance.
Not gonna happen.
Not that.
Yeah,
But that's just, oh man. Listen, Cody Bellinger re-signed, which was
Bellinger
amazing.
opted in. That's
That was a
so pretty
huge.
much other than the 40-man fringy moves of tendering and non-tendering a few guys. That's been the main Cubs news so far. Bellinger has opted in.
One
So
more piece of Maine Cubs news. The freaking amazing Ian Happ won
yes,
again a Gold Glove
third
award.
straight Gold Glove in left field. How many seasons has he played left field? Let me ask you. Oh, right, that's
Three?
right,
Has it
three.
been three? Yeah.
He
And three
he
seasons
moved
he's
to a
gotten
new
the Gold
position
Glove.
and he's won the Gold Glove every year.
That's
That's
crazy.
damn impressive.
He is a stud. I told you 2017 was Ian Happ's rookie year, and I've been following him ever since, even before we were friends. I like him. I'm a fan of Ian Happ. I was also a fan of Alex Bregman. Can we talk about that real quick? So,
Current free agent.
yeah, what the talk is that it's strong that the Astros will re-sign him, but there are some baseball writers that are mentioning the Mets. And I guess if you're talking about signing Willie Adames and moving Willie Adames to third base, Alex Bregman already plays third base.
And
So,
it's have a pretty good bat track
and
record as well.
he's
And that's
honestly,
the
and
thing, Mets are going to be in on everybody because they're
let me
smart.
let me put the cheater conversation out on the side for a second. I mean, I've already expressed how I felt on this podcast. He's a damn good third baseman. I mean,
Damn
he
good.
is. He's a
Damn good.
really, really good third baseman. I mean, I've seen him in
Consistent,
action.
good glove.
Yeah, great glove. And he's not a bad hitter either. I mean, he hits the ball. He's very disciplined. I will say, Alex Bregman. He's a good clubhouse guy. I don't even know why I'm
There'll be a
saying
lot
this.
of there'll be a lot of teams that wouldn't be upset if he ended
He
up
kind
there.
of reminds me of a Harrison Bader, that type of clubhouse guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what happens. I guess
See,
I'll
and
have
that's
to
the
get
nice thing
over
for the
it.
Mets. They're in on everybody. Both MLB trade rumors and The Athletic and ESPN each came out with their own top 40, top 50 lists. And you see the Mets on 12, 14 different names because they're going to be in on everybody, which is great. It's a good thing. Things are looking up
But
in
let's
teams.
pull for the Cubbies too. I want the Cubbies to put
Cubs
together a
have been
decent
listing
team.
plenty. With Bellinger opting in, they should still have roughly 50, 55 million to spend before hitting the tax. So the Cubs will be in on people.
So do you need
I think the biggest name the Cubs will, my prediction is the Cubs end up with Max Fried. That's who I think the Cubs are going to end up
and
with.
it's great pitcher. I mean,
I'd
you
love
guys
it.
need
I would
pitching.
love it if we got him.
He's a great. I love Max Fried. I think that would be a great pickup. He's a great pitcher. Yeah, definitely. I could
I
see
see the
that.
Cubs
A
signing
good
one,
fit.
maybe two starting pitchers, one of the Fried caliber, maybe one more in like the Mania range. I could see the Cubs, the Mets, a bunch of teams are going to be interested in Mania.
If the Cubs pick up Mania, that's going to be huge for you guys because I will tell you, Mania had a very up year. A lot of people don't know maybe that Mania literally watched tape on Chris Sale and
Yes,
basically copied what he was doing, and he kicked
completely changed his delivery.
unbelievable. Like, how awesome is that?
That is a
He,
very cool story. Yeah.
yeah, and I think any team that gets him is very lucky. I think, yeah, it's going to be very successful.
Yep. And you can probably get him on like a 3 year deal. You might not have to go 6, 7, 8 years on some of these other guys. So
Which, as you know, I mean, pitchers you don't want necessarily. We know how those long-term deals sometimes work. Jacob DeGrom. But
couple
John
other names
Verlander.
to keep an eye
Verlander.
on. I think another thing the Cubs will end up with is I think they sign a left-handed reliever. I think maybe either Tanner Scott is probably the best out there, so we might not end up with him, but they'll probably be mentioned. I could see a reunion with Andrew Chafin, so we'll
Okay.
see. Throwing that name out
Well,
there.
Tanner Scott, former Marlin, really
Yep,
good player. I like
big
him.
trade piece at the deadline last year
Yep.
to San Diego.
And yeah, I mean, speaking of the Marlins, real quick, you got Sandy is coming back from injury at Tommy John. I think Sandy had Tommy John surgery this year, so
Yep,
that I think, honestly, I know my Marlins friends and fans of the of I don't see the Marlins holding on to Alcantara. I think they're eventually gonna trade him because that's what they do.
that's what they do.
And Alcantara, when he's healthy, is a fantastic upper tier pitcher. So yeah,
Definitely.
I wouldn't mind the Mets getting him.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Mets are gonna make a lot of moves. That I'm confident in.
love those Mets. We'll see. Well, it's exciting how this is gonna pan out. Anything else you want to talk about?
There were 13 players that were given the qualifying offer.
Yes.
I am predicting
Three Mets.
three Mets on the list. I'm predicting two of the 13 will accept. That's my prediction.
Who?
I'm predicting Nick Martinez will accept, and Nick Pivetta.
So you don't think Severino's going to accept?
I don't. I think he was solid enough where he's going to get 2 to 3 year offers. I think the only guys that really I will put a caveat in if it gets down to if I have to pick one, I'm sticking with Nick Martinez.
Mm-hmm.
Pivetta is a wild card because his underlying metric numbers were great. So if a team's willing to give him, say, 3 for 45, 3 for 50, even though that's less average annually, he might take a bigger number overall. I think Nick Martinez is going to have a tougher time getting that type of volume money. So I think he'll
So
take the big 1 year deal.
So my question is this, like, isn't this like where you need a really good agent as a baseball player? Like this is where your agent comes in and says and kind of evaluates the deal to say, I don't think you're going to get better than this, and you might want to kind of take it or
And another interesting thing is with how big the qualifying offer is, in the sense of those two guys, if let's say they do think that what they did is repeatable and they bank on themselves not getting injured, they
hmm
could take 21 million and 50,000 for 1 year, and then bam, you're a free agent again, and then you're going to get even more next year. So
mm,
it just kind of depends on. That's where I think Martinez could accept the 1 year
hmm
because that's so much money. Where even if he does get hurt, even if he gets a pillow contract after, he just took 21 million for 1 year. And if he is right, it's a huge gamble. And if he's right, who knows? He could sign for 50 or 60 again next year. You combine that, and all of a sudden he's gotten 75, 80,
it's
which
like a
is
bird in the hand, like
exactly. So it'll be
I
interesting.
I
I
think back,
think I think the rest of them are pretty safe to reject.
well, certainly Pete Alonso. I mean,
All
yeah,
three Mets are going to reject. I'd be
yeah.
shocked if one of them took it.
But for
But
those
I
who
wouldn't
might
be
not
shocked
know,
if one or more ends up back with the Mets.
yeah, I think I think a strong chance that Severino might end up back with the Mets. I'll say this, and Alonso. I
Definitely,
remember
all possible.
a couple of years ago they extended a qualifying offer to Michael Conforto, and Michael Conforto was coming off an injury and could not get a team to get what he
He
wanted, and
he
ended up
declined it,
taking
and he ended up signing for pennies with the Giants.
after a full season of just being home. I
Yep,
mean,
exactly. And
and
now
now
he's
he's a
he's
free agent.
again.
Yeah.
So
Oof.
sometimes you gotta not overplay your hand.
And that's what he did. He absolutely did. And for
Jordan
the
Montgomery was another one of
oh
those.
yes, Jordan Montgomery, definitely.
And
I,
then the owner ripped him to shreds, and then Montgomery opted in
I
and said, "You
talk
want to rest?
about
Okay, I'll just
save
take my
face,
25 mil from you. Thanks, dummy."
you idiot.
He could be a trade candidate.
Um,
Keep an eye on that as well.
So, if for those who don't know, real quick, and I'll explain for laymen watching or listening, a team will extend a qualifying offer because what happens is if that player signs with another team, then the team that extended the qualifying offer will then get a draft pick or
Draft pick
something like that.
compensation.
Yeah, and you want that, so it's a no brainer for the players who really you want to extend that qualifying offer because you get
And then if
something
they
out of it,
accept it, it's a 1 year contract anyways. It's not bit long
right?
term. So
And most players don't accept it. So, I mean, and they don't offer it to everybody either. Just to explain that too, if you don't get a qualifying offer, you're set free, birdie. And
and you can only be offered a qualifying offer one time in your career. So all 13 of these players will be ineligible in future seasons if they're only able to sign for 1 year or accept it.
yeah, interesting. And it's a big compliment to get a qualifying offer as a player. It means we like you.
And
So
that's where my two predictions were. They were pretty
I liked
shocking
it.
that they received them. So that's where I'm sticking with Pavetta and
So
Martinez. Martinez one, Pavetta two.
so I recall Bregman signed an extension with the Astros, if I'm not mistaken. Is this the first time he's actually a free agent?
It is.
Did
Yes.
they
He
uh, did
signed.
they extend a qualifying offer to him?
He was ineligible, I believe,
Oh,
because he had already signed an extension.
oh, okay. So that makes you ineligible.
I believe he's ineligible,
It's not
but
a quiz, I
I think
promise.
he's past the service time for it.
Got Oh, okay, got it. All right, interesting. Anything else you want to bring up?
Bregman also, I think, just had a minor surgery as well.
Oh, he did. Where?
I think just to clean up some bone chips or something.
Ew.
Nothing, yeah, nothing crazy.
Eh. Baseball players are always having surgery. Uh,
But yeah, it should be a
uh,
fun off season. We'll definitely keep up with the big moves as they go.
yeah, and we'll keep up
Marlins
with.
hired their manager.
Oh, they did.
They did. Dodgers for you were probably I probably didn't mention that you were in New York. They
Who do they
hired
hire?
Dodgers first base coach McCullough. That long silence is Tim trying to think, who is that
Why?
and why?
Listen, the
They
Dodgers won the
wanted a
World
guy from a
Series,
winning organization.
but dude, he doesn't make the decisions that are driving the organization. He's helping coach first base.
Don't worry, the Marlins will win like 60 or 70 games
Dude,
anyways.
they are so cheap. This organization is so cheap. They don't actually want to win. I feel like let me speak real quick. I'm going to get on a soapbox. You got me on my soapbox. Bruce Sherman, the owner of the Marlins, I feel like it's a factory for him just to make money, to get the licensing from MLB that the Marlins get. They don't have a crowd there. I've gone to many Marlins games. The Marlins do not put on an entertaining experience at the ballpark like the Cubs do at Wrigley, which I freaking loved. They don't have mound ball, but they don't do fun stuff like that. You know what I mean? And I just, I feel like doing such a disservice to the baseball fans in South Florida, which are very motivated to go to baseball games. Perfect example, the Savannah Bananas sold out Marlins Park a couple of weeks ago. What are they doing? Like they literally could have an all-star, it's a Cuban American population. The biggest sport in Cuba, for those who don't know, is baseball. Baseball. Like, what are they doing? I don't know, man. Sorry.
I lobbed you a softball to end because I knew
Bruce
you'd have some.
Sherman makes me crazy.
It's the Marlins for you. Marlins are gonna
Oh,
Marlin.
Bruce Sherman is definitely no Steve Cohen at all. I mean, look, he even Jeter was like, I'm out of here. He couldn't take Bruce Sherman
The other
anymore.
thing you
So
can bank on is the Marlins trading away more people.
I like I said earlier, Alcantara is gonna go. And Marlins fans, I will tell you straight up, they're dedicated and loyal, but they're disgusted. They're disgusted with this
They have every right to
organization.
be.
And we were the Florida Marlins and became the Miami Marlins. They conned Miami-Dade County out of building this ballpark, and they have not produced a decent team. And the county really got hosed, in my opinion. But that's another story for another day. Real quick, I know we're really long, but real quick, where do you see the Rays going this season coming up? They're looking for a place.
Man, honestly, they could be in 40 different places. They're literally exploring every avenue.
The only one that
It's
makes
hard to
sense to
take them
me.
out of the Tampa area.
The only
Your
only
Buck Stadium.
Raymond
Yeah,
James Stadium. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. And listen, the Marlins survived for years out at Joe Robbie Stadium in the heat. They can do it. I mean, it's not that crazy. You just play all night game. You just move your games to night games.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
It'll be
Anyway,
interesting. It will be probably a couple more, at least a few more weeks before they come close to a decision, I bet.
definitely. It's good to see you, buddy.
You too.
And be well. I'll see you next week. I hope everyone in our audience is doing well, getting ready for Thanksgiving. And Charlie, happy birthday next week, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next week's your birthday.
And happy 2 weeks away from Trivial Pursuit and 3 weeks from
Woo!
yours.
There we go. This has been Around the Bases, the pop culture and sports podcast with your host.
Charlie Seymour.
And I'm Tim Sternberg. Until next week, happy birthday, Charlie. See you. Bye.